Hi friends, today we have with us uh, Sri TV Subbarao, who is basically an engineer from IIT. He did his masters from
Madras.
IIT Chennai, and basically to start with, he is about born in 1963 in Nidadavolu town of West Godavari district. From those humble moorings, with his dint of hard work and determination, he could actually rise to the highest levels in his profession. It is not a joke to get into the IITs, do their masters, and then get into the one of the biggest organizations, um, which is Indian Railways. He retired in the year
20.
1923, 2023, sorry, as the principal chief engineer in charge of locomotive equipment and all that relates to the Indian railways that moves on the tracks, whether it is broad gauge or meter gauge or narrow gauge, whatever it is, anything moving above the track was his domain. And for almost 36 long years, he's put in service looking after the interests of the Indian Railways. As you know, Indian Railways is considered one of the best organizations in the government, whether anybody likes it or not. That is the fact. Think of the numbers. The number of employees is about 1.25 million, out of which 50,000 are women. Then the track length is about the route length is about 68,000 kilometers, and they cover almost 7,200 railway stations, and probably a few billion, 7.6 billion passengers travel in the Indian railways every year. These numbers are mind boggling. Yes, once in a while an accident may take place, but that is mostly an act of God. But these people, when such a tragedy, unfortunate incident takes place, they rise up to the occasion, make sure that in the best possible manner, given the circumstances, problems of the passengers are mitigated. There are many challenges in railways. I won't like to talk about the challenges. I would leave that critical subject of challenges faced and how they were handled to the satisfaction of all the concerned parties. We are really happy that a subject which is not often discussed in public forum, we are able to bring on our channel through the medium of Sri TV Subbarao. Just as an additionality and as a matter of curiosity, I would like to say that Mr. Subbarao is a very competent golfer. He, I would say, on his given day, he's a single digit golfer. He has won many a trophy, many a tournament. We are members of the same club. That's how I bumped into him and we became friends. And having observed him, I thought he can share his knowledge to the benefit of the public. So, Mr. Subhara, would you like to react to the kind of challenges? What actually was your job description? And what kind of challenges you faced? And how did you manage your career?
First of all, let me thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences and views on the Indian Railways, where I have served relentlessly for over a period of 36 years. And I also thank Mr. Chandrahas and Mr. Harish for taking part in this uh, good program. And whatever discussions we do, I think they will increase the awareness levels about the Indian Railways and the challenges faced by the Indian public. It will be a great help, and people will get benefited. So, whatever best knowledge I have got, I will try to share in this program to my 100% capacity and strength. And initially, I would like to say that uh, I have joined Indian Railways in the year 1986 through UPSC Engineering Services Examination. And after that, I have worked all over Indian Railways except Delhi and Northeastern regions in various capacities. And in the initial 16 years, I must say that I used to work almost 14 to 16 hours a day. And then the second part, another 16 years or so, 18 years, I used to work around 10 to 12 hours a day. And with so much of concentration and so much of commitment we have worked, if anybody asks me, I used to say that I had 54 years of working experience in railways. Actually, I did the double the work actually most of the time. So in fact, we never treated, when we joined the job, we never treated it as a source of earning or anything for the family, with a humble intention that we should serve to the public and to the Indian government and India as a whole. We joined, and with that motto only we have completed the service. And few years back, I retired from the service. And see, it's a very fast changing organization. Certain figures I would like to just briefly give, sir, for the benefit of the audience. We are actually around 69,000 track kilometers length. Railways is the longest network, and out of which roughly around 65,000 kilometers is broad gauge, and the meter gauge basically we have inherited from the British rule, and subsequently after independence we have taken a decision that we should go for uni gauge. So most of the places where the meter gauge was there, it was converted to broad gauge, and maybe shortly in another say 5 to 10 years, we will be, Indian Railways will be a uni gauge railways, broad gauge all over India. And we operate around 13,200 passenger trains every day. Here I would like to say that actually passenger travel is not our main core business. Our main core business in Indian Railways is the movement of the freight trains, especially the minerals and the iron ore and the coal and the finished products like steel products and things like that. Our bread and butter comes from the freight loading only, and the passenger actually, as a matter of social responsibility, we cross subsidize. And it is not, as you know, that it's a government program, a lot of social responsibilities involved. It is not purely done on the profit lines. Basically, it is run as a mediator for the people for their convenience, etc. So, a lot of cross subsidization takes place in the passenger sector. And as I told already, we are running around roughly around 12,000 freight trains on daily basis, and main freight loading is your iron ore and coal actually, both for the steel manufacturing as well as the thermal power plants. Then when I joined railways, we were around 17 lakhs employees. Now we have reduced it to around 12.5 lakhs. The whole thing behind is basically to curtail the uh, human involvement and human intervention. because most of the train operations are basically safety related, and even a small mistake by an employee, whether it is group D or group C, will cost heavily, especially the passengers' lives and the rolling stock value of the material. They are very, very important. So our main motto in Indian Railways is that we should try and aim and achieve for zero accidents. So in that direction, wherever possible, we have gone for automation, and we have replaced a lot of manpower with automation and technology. But certain areas where जितना भी हम लोग try करेंगे, there has to be some labor intensive works are there, like track maintenance and the ballast maintenance and the regular patrolling, and where we have to see the safety gear like pandrol clips and the fish plates and the track joints and anything interfering on the track. There actually continuous patrolling is required. So definitely their manpower reduction is not possible. Presently, we are operating at around 20% vacancies, government jobs, but these vacancies are mainly offset by the contract employees. That way, privatization is also being encouraged, and the number of men on roll on the government, that is getting reduced. That is a good sign, and uh, we are moving in that direction. सेफ्टी इज अ मेन दिस थिंग. जितना भी हम लोग ट्राई करेंगे, समटाइम्स थिंग्स हैपन. In fact, if I go back around 36 years and see when we joined service, I worked in the most prestigious railway, Southeastern Railways. I worked for 12 years. And in a month, almost 15 to 20 days, I used to spend only on the accident sites, predominantly goods train accidents, because of the formation problems and the track buckling, and some four wheelers which are having rigid structures, they are not able to negotiate the curves. So in fact, we used to maintain two suitcases. We used to come from one accident site and go to the other accident site. Like that we have worked, ignoring the children, ignoring the family. We have dedicated and worked in the divisions like Chakradarpur, Adra, Khurda Road, and it has given immense pleasure that we are doing something to the country and something to the nation. Compared to those days, lot of inputs have gone, either monetarily or the technologically or materials. I can proudly say now that the safety record of Indian Railways has increased many fold, and now the accidents have become a thing of the past, and we can say now that we are at least on the, if not the best, we are on the one of the best as far as the safety parameters are concerned. Operating ratio also I would like to touch upon here. We are around 98% operating ratio, roughly 2% of profit. As I already clarified, very, very infrastructure of this railways is very costly. Anything, a new line or a new bridge or anything, the cost will go in thousands of crores. So returns may not be there immediately, but definitely these are all public related and passenger related assets. So naturally the profit will be lesser only. But as a whole, we cannot lag behind technologically, the technological obsolescence and all. I can say now that Indian Railways will be around 10 to 15 years behind. The main giants in the railway sector, we can call it as a Germany or Japan, or of late China also has picked up a lot. I can say that we are lagging behind 10 years. Now, thanks to the present government and the initiatives taken by the our Honorable Prime Minister, uh, things are moving fast. We are going to get high-speed corridor between Ahmedabad and Bombay, and then the recent train, this Baramulla and Udhampur in the Jammu Kashmir. These are all technological marvels with so much of support from the government and the toil of the individuals like me and you, sir. These things could be made possible, and we are coming on the top of the world map, as well as for the technology as well as for the safety aspects. Uh, Vacancies, modernization. Yes, we have talked about
No, we
modernization.
will come to that modernization. But one thing, Mr. Subbarao, you mentioned that railways earns a lot from freight movement, basically, moving various goods, metals, or products made out of metals, and all that. So, and the passenger transport is by and large subsidized by the money which comes from this freight transport and all that. So, do you think actually railways doesn't depend on the government at all for money purpose? Because now the investments which are expected of railways is humongous. For instance, now the Honorable Prime Minister has started Vande Bharat trains. He started at several places, and this kind of thing will go on. He will replace the old ramshackle trains with Vande Bharat expresses. Then he is also trying to modernize the railway stations. Amrit Bharat stations are called. So huge amount of capital investment is required. Maybe your income from freight transport, um, and minus the subsidy to the passenger transport, is quite inadequate for the purpose. So, huge amount of money is required for making Indian railways modern. Um I still remember some of the trains in which I used to travel as a youngster. They have changed for the better, but not as much as I would like, because now we are in the 22nd century, and we expect the fast moving development in railways, and the safety has to be of prime concern, because whenever a train accident takes place, it is actually a gory sight. A large number of lives are lost, and then the railway people, as you said, spend days together to even extricate the bodies, then identify them, inform the relatives. It takes humongous time. So, modernization and safety must combine, and they must be, this kind of thing can be enabled only by adequate money. So, what kind of monies and what are the sources? Do you take World Bank loans, IMF loans, or ADB loans, or BRICS loans? Such kind of loans are you raising independently, like many other institutions?
Sir, it's like this. Originally, in fact, we used to have a separate railway budget. And then, in fact, if you remember correctly, sir, that union budget used to be there in every February, and subsequently, railway budget used to be a
Yeah.
separate budget. Now, in railways, actually, two types of calculations are done regarding the profit and cost analysis. So, one is the revenue budget, and the other one is the capital budget. In fact, as you pointed out rightly, whatever this operating ratio and 2% profit what we talk, that is only on the revenue side of the railways. The real capital investment, basically, immediately we may not get the adequate returns. That is separately taken care, not from the purely profit point of view, but from the investment of point of view for the regional development and balanced regional development, basically. Especially modernization and the railways development, they are seen as a synonymous things, basically. If you have a railway track in your village, then it is considered that you are also on par with the rest of the country. So, that as you told rightly, lot of loans are raised by the central government. Now that we are getting from developed countries, we are getting from the IMF, etc., and that is how we are doing these projects. That will not be taken into account when we really calculate the cost and profit analysis of the railway working. Second thing, now sir, of late what we are doing is we are making lot of PPP model, public private participation model we are doing. Lot of private sector people we are involving and inviting. Like if you see our Secunderabad station, we have developing in the PPP model. Basically, airport like infrastructure we are creating in around 35 to 40 railway stations by involving the private participation. Huge investments are coming, and then they are being leased, say for 100 years or so, so that the people can come maybe 3 hours 4 hours before the departure train, and they can have in fact we are even planning for the cinema halls, shopping malls, and the entertainment for the children, and things like that on par with the airports, so that it becomes a pleasure for the people to come in time, and then they can relax for 2 3 hours and then take up their journey. So this is how we are managing. Otherwise, purely from the earnings, so it is not possible for the type of developments what we are doing. And as far as safety is concerned, we discussed. Yes, safety may these accidents and the things will they are there. But उसमें क्या है? It's a railway is actually 10 verticals. There are so many departments and coordinated working is there. There is a separate signal and telecommunication department. There is separate rolling stock department. In that there is some electrical wing is there. Then the diesel wing is there, then the track maintenance is separate is there, and then interface between the various department workings, that itself is a big challenge, and so much of human involvement is there, and our drivers and our guards they work relentlessly and continuously. So even a small mistake, a micro nap of a person, or maybe a small signal transient failure, or little bit of some obstruction on the track, or some sabotage cases, any small thing can lead to a accident, especially when we are going for the higher speeds. And another unfortunate part in these accidents is most of the times there may be a root cause for this accident, but thing is after the accidents, because of the heavy loads, the cause will get also damaged along with the disturbance. Whether it is a rolling stock has caused the accident, or whether it is a track has caused the accident, whether it is a human element, or whether any outside interference, sometimes the evidence get lost because of the damage. So it is extremely difficult to find out exactly what goes. But we have got Commissioner of Railway Safety, highest level of standards are maintained. We go into the depth of the analysis, we try to find out the root cause, and we are initiating corrective and preventive actions to minimize the accidents and to mitigate the losses.
Mr. Subbarao, you spoke quite elaborately, pointed at the main problems that the railways has to face and handle to make sure that the passengers are comfortable. Ultimately, it's not freight transport alone, passenger transport. The number of passengers who have traveled last year, according to the figures which I saw, is in billions. So, the movement itself of the people on any given day is more comfortable on a train than a bus, because train allows a berth, somebody can lie down for a while and then get rest and all that. So therefore it's critical that this railway sector has to be taken care of. Coming to the actual issue, now you are saying you have a 20% vacancies with which you are running the organization, and mostly you are managing by contracting out those positions. Well, that's seems to be a classical solution. But one day or the other, the public pressure, because of the unemployment situation, because
Continue,
of
sir.
the
You continue.
unemployment situation, people would like to actually sit in a government job than work on a contract basis. In addition to that, since automation has come in, and inevitably it has to come in very deeply, like things like artificial intelligence, the word, much hackneyed word, artificial intelligence, will also have to be used in railways to prevent, one, the what do you call as mm, here it is called, there is kavach, there is a name given by the railways for prevention of damage due to collisions, and similarly maintenance of speed, prediction of any kind of problem in the next 1 hour or half hour. All these will have to come through some kind of electronic means, because human beings are doing their best, there is no doubt, because sometimes you will be surprised to see one station master in a desolate village operating the rail track, uh, signaling, or whatever it is. One station master I have seen, and that requires lot of commitment, determination, and all that. So the railway people, they may have problems, they may have unions and many problems, but by and large, the sum total of their work seems to me a satisfactory kind of situation. Like postal department and railway department are two largest departments. Take away the army and all, the defense forces. These two are the largest departments with heaviest responsibility, and then quite uh, uncomplainingly, all of them work and make things happen. That is one happy news. And with the coming of IRCTC, things have become automated also. So now people can book sitting at home their tickets, they can cancel tickets. Earlier, one had to go to the station again to book the ticket and cancel. Here, you can also book your meals. Several facilities are there. IRCTC, in fact, is organizing tour circuits also. It has taken up many other multifarious roles. So railways needs to be strengthened and strengthened only. There is no stopping of strengthening of railways, and our country has to be prepared to make sure that this important organization is kept healthy, wealthy, and efficient. I would like you to react to what I said.
Sir, what I would like to say is uh, uh, tear weight to the loaded weight ratio is the main thing which determines the efficiency, financial efficiency of the railway working. Normally, what happens is that specific fuel consumption, what we call it, basically in freight trains, because of the heavy loads, in a wagon we will be loading around 60 to 70 tons of the iron ore or coal. So the specific fuel consumption will be very less for the freight trains. For the same amount of fuel burnt, we can carry tons and tons of the freight material. Whereas in a passenger trains, basically, because of the less weight of the passengers, we end up spending so much of fuel, but the number of passengers transported will be less. So whatever we do, technological changes or anything, passenger services are actually going to be not very profitable from the purely profit point of view for the Indian Railways. If you remember correctly, sir, this is the precise reason earlier we used to actually move the piecemeal wagons. Piecemeal wagons means each wagon goes to a different destination. We have to shunt it and attach it to another train. Basically, the input will be more and the output result will be less, and we end up spending more and earning less. So, as far as for this passenger movement, basically the multimodal transport, we are actually thinking in the, if you see it, if you don't see it railway as a separate entity, if you see entire transport as a one unit, the way the roads have developed in our country, and the way the flight travel has developed in the last say 10 to 15 years time. If it is a overnight journey or basically a 1 hour, 2 hours journey, slowly I think more and more passengers will be diverted from railways to either flight travel or the road travel. And the railways involvement in the passenger movement is, I think, for a period of time will become less and less only. With luxury buses coming and the comfort, the 4 lane national highways and the state highways, the roads and airways will take over the passenger segment. That is the thinking at the highest levels. And railway will predominantly concentrate on the freight and purely work on the economic. And second is, whatever we may talk about this outsourcing activities of the manpower, the core activities where safety is related and where the technology is involved, they are still with the government only. The non-core activities, predominantly the cleaning activities or the serving of the food and catering, these things we are privatizing, so that we are seeing that the safety is not compromised. Also, sir, you talk about this Kavach, the TICAS. It's a very costly technological solution. Basically, there is a concept like micro sleep. The drivers, when they are running the train for a fraction of a second, there may be a just even if the eyes will just close for a fraction of a second, that is good enough, especially when we are moving at the higher speed. So if a one signal is missed, then probably that may end up in a catastrophe like a head-on collision or a rare collision, or going into a dead end or things like that, which may cause heavily the passenger life and all. This is the TICAS, the Kavach, we call it as a TICAS. This is basically a electronic this thing which will sense the signaling, etc., everything. And if the driver did not respond in time, the automatic application of the brakes will take place and the horn will come and the train will come to a stop. Because of the cost involved, on a pilot basis, we are initiating these things at some important routes like Rajdhani routes and Shatabdi routes, and gradually over a period of time, I think the thing will get covered, all the trains will get covered and the safety will further improve. And this much from my side, sir, for these questions. If I miss anything, kindly let me know. I will try to
No issue.
elaborate further.
Friends, now my young friend Chandrahas, who is basically a brilliant engineer combined with his MBA, he would like to ask a few questions of Mr. Subbarao.
First question to you is regarding railway safety. How do we ensure that trains traveling, especially in areas like Bihar, parts of Uttar Pradesh, how do we ensure safety of passengers and their valuables? For us, common people, it seems very challenging that the railway police force is able to ensure protection in such remote areas. Could you tell us a bit about how do they ensure such amount of safety across the country, especially in remote areas?
So the railway is basically a combination of various departments. If you remember Chandrahas correctly, railway has got our own police force actually.
Yes.
We call it a railway protection force, and we have our own network actually. We run parallel telephone organization like a PNT department. That much of strength railways has got. Our own RPF people will take care of the safety, passenger safety as well as the goods safety. And in case, but they have got limited powers as per legal this thing provision. So wherever their jurisdiction is not permitting them to enter, they will hand over to the police. That is how we deal.
Okay. So my second question is that we have heard so much about France, Germany, even China making super high, super speed high rail projects where trains are going up to 300, 400 kilometers per hour. What are the challenges which we are facing in India? Let us say between small cities like Mumbai, Pune, or doing Hyderabad, Bangalore, connecting city centers, because I believe that very high speed trains can be a real alternative to aircrafts, because as you know, aircraft fuel prices are rising so much. The amount of a crowd in a security check in an airport is so much. Why can't Indian Railways give us something like a 350 kilometers per hour high speed rail just like France, considering technology has improved so much?
Yes, very valid question. Two things I would like to clarify here. Uh, the first is numbers.
Okay.
Uh, we are a huge population and less area. And if you see, like if you compare our Indian roads with, say, European roads, say, even if it's countries like Poland or small countries, not so developed as Germany or France, if you see, there will be only one or two vehicles. Predominantly cars and buses will be there, and by
Yes.
the side, the cycles will be traveling in a separate route. If you come to the Indian roads, you can see multi type of vehicles are there, autos are there, bikes are there, different types of scooters are there, and simultaneously we are running the lorries and the buses and things like that. The same thing happens for the railways also. We have to cater to the large segment of the population, and there is something in railways actually, one train follows the other train.
Okay.
A lot of cost is involved for the high speed trains. Suppose if one train is traveling at say 300 kmph and the subsequent train is traveling at 60 kmph, the third train which is coming, that speed gets restricted to 60 kmph actually.
Right.
That is the problem, the space constraint and the population. Because of these things, so it's not really, the entire network may not be possible now, but we are in a limited this thing between Ahmedabad and Bombay,
Yes.
and then Chennai, Delhi. We are experimenting, and for a period of time, that is how it will develop.
But in such cases, considering how the Indian public is, we do not take care of our infrastructure. How do we ensure that the bullet train railway line between Ahmedabad and Mumbai will be safe from any miscreants, any antisocial elements? Because train at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour, in case even a small damage is there to the rail line, it can derail and cause massive accidents. So, what we would like to know, how are we protecting the entire rail track from Bombay to Ahmedabad for bullet train?
We are having a concept of dedicated freight corridors and dedicated passenger corridors.
Okay.
So when the train speed goes more than 180 or 200 kmph, in fact, both sides barricading is required. Even a small cattle or a small dog or
Yes.
anything coming across the train, it may become a catastrophe.
Right.
So with this dedicated passenger and dedicated freight corridors, it is possible. Safety can be ensured, at the same time speeds can be maintained. That is how we are planning.
Okay. So one more question about freight costs. We see that at the lower end, people are preferring trucks and buses for transportation because of the last mile connectivity. And on the higher end, people are preferring aircraft for speed. So railways freight is stuck between a place where they do not have last mile connectivity, therefore people don't prefer it at the lower end, and it is not fast enough, so people don't prefer it on the higher end. How is railways planning to address this issue and ensure that they are able to capture much more market share from the road transport as well as the air transport?
Exactly. See, for the common man, ultimately what matters is the cost of transportation.
Yes.
Now, door delivery concept is there. When we go for the road transport, I give it at my home, and then it will be delivered at your home at your doorstep. Whereas for railways, basically it is a three times this thing. I have to carry from my home to the station and again engage people for loading, and then again unloading at the other station, and then bringing it to the other house.
Correct.
So the total cost becomes very high for a piecemeal or a small consignments. That is why our ministry is now thinking about this multimodal transport. So we have a subcontracting arrangement for the road movements, and then the railway will take the predominant part, assisted by the private agencies. We are planning in those lines, multimodal concept.
Okay. So when we look at some trains like Mumbai local, we just saw an accident happened, people are falling off. Why is it that certain trains, especially in UP, Bihar, in West Bengal and in Mumbai have such massive overcrowding. People are hanging from the doors. Cannot we add many more trains and add many more coaches to solve for these in these specific routes? Because I believe that in case demand is very high, the railways should have the prediction algorithm to immediately decide that we have to add some more coaches, some more trains here, so that the overcrowding which we are seeing is not happening. One of the recent examples was in the Kumbh Mela. We saw every single train, people were breaking into the windows, climbing from the windows. How can Indian Railways predict this and have some extra stock to ensure that things like this don't happen? And I'd just like to understand the difference between Mumbai, why is it happening for 30 years versus something in UP Bihar?
I will break it into two parts. First, we talked about Mumbai. Mumbai mein this metro rail, Mumbai is lifeline of Mumbai actually.
Yes.
See, for any asset, minimum say 4 to 5 hours of maintenance is required if you have to run for 24 hours.
Right.
There is a constant struggle within the railways between the operations department and the technical departments because of so much of demand and the requirement of the things. So sometimes what happens is the day-to-day maintenance may not get adequate time and attention it required. So though we don't want to compromise on the safety, because of the heavy pressure on the maintenance and the less space available, sometimes things may go here and there and it may lead to unsafe situation. That now we are putting our foot down and we are ensuring that the minimum 6 hours time is given for the maintenance to mitigate and avoid this type of accidents. This scenario in Bihar and UP is totally different.
Okay.
See, the railway, basically any new line is now costing in hundreds and thousands of crores.
Okay.
And this is the main problem. Though we have got adequate space, everything, the construction of new lines and their breaking even on the economic, if you see purely on the economic front, they may not be viable. That is why, if you remember correctly, in my previous episode with Mr. Bhaskar sir, I have told the best is for the overnight travels and say 800 kilometers or 700 kilometers and 1000 kilometers. Passengers we should actually divert to either airways and to the roadways, and railways, in my opinion, of course I am not in a policy making level at this stage, but railways should only concentrate on the freight movement with a uniform speeds, say 160 kmph or 200 kmph, so that we can take the maximum benefit. But with a little clause that important cities like say Bangalore, Chennai, and say Ahmedabad, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, we can have a dedicated passenger corridors with the collaboration with the Japanese or the Chinese or maybe German. We can have the world-class technology like maglev. We can go for speeds of 250, 300 kmph without compromising on the safety.
Okay. And one more question is about the general compartments where we see that the quality is abysmal. The AC coaches, the normal reservation coaches have far higher quality versus the general coaches. Why cannot we add 5, 6, 7 more general coaches if required to prevent the cramping of the people? And on the other side, why do not we put reservation for that? Because passenger safety is more important than giving free travel and unreserved ticket travel for general coaches. Maximum accidents are also happening because of overcrowding in these particular 2-3 coaches. What is your suggestion about this?
Yes, I have already told you actually this general coaches, normally we have one GS coach in the front and one GS coach in the rear.
Yes.
Which is not adequate for the people to travel. But as it is, I told you that passenger segment is not a very profit making segment for us.
Yes.
So I don't suggest that we should increase general coaches. I will rather suggest that this general coaches should be completely eliminated and only the reserved coaches should be there.
Right.
And for this type of segment, we should encourage the road transport.
Which makes a lot of sense. I think the government should really look at this. We cannot, the Indian Railways cannot solve for everything at every level. We really need to focus very specifically and have very small very sharp objectives, and we have to work on that. Now I'll invite Mr. Bhaskar to give the closing remarks.
So, friends, the last 1 hour or so has been very, very interesting, instructive educational session on the Indian Railways and all the issues associated with the operation of railways, both passenger transport and freight transport, along with manpower issues, issues relating to speed maintenance, issues relating to manpower shortage, issues relating to accidents and how they have to handle them. A large number of things Mr. Subbarao has clarified to us. We are all laymen. Unless we work in a highly technical department like railways, we will hardly understand through reading newspapers and all what are their difficulties. It is easy to shout that facilities are not there and make a galata that they are all jam packed and all that. There are India is flooded with people. They need to move from one place to another place. So what will they do? They will get into any kind of transport and to move and reach their destination. And railways offers far more space, even if cramped, than any bus or any taxi. Therefore, railways will have general compartments. They may not have more general compartments, but we will have to contend with what we have. There is absolutely no doubt. So, all other things like introduction of high speed trains, bullet trains, and all, he has also explained that they need to be fenced because there are very small obstacle, a small disturbance can and destabilize a high speed train traveling at about 350 kilometers an hour. So it's a sensitive kind of thing. Easy to for us to expect things like trains which can be moved at 400 kilometers an hour, or we can have levitating trains. Uh, all these are possible in small communities, small countries, and all that. India has issues larger. Typically, any state government has 60 departments. Central government has, I don't know how many departments, more than 100 departments easily. So, if we have to do justice to all the departments, then there will be some compromises. But railways being a department with a large legacy, the entire railway lines, to a large extent, were laid during British times, and they are ancient. And now the Indians are replacing them with far more robust railways. It requires a lot of money and costs. Um we have learned a lot of things from you, Mr. Subbarao. Also, at a very short notice, you came and gave us very cogent, understandable replies. I am sure we benefited and our audience will be benefited. And I hope even if you are retired from service, you will be engaged one way or the other. You can render advice, and we have to only ensure that your young friends who join freshly must have the same kind of commitment to see that this great organization, Indian Railways, stands to flourish at all times.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity given, and I hope that this program will help the people to have proper understanding about the railway working. Thank you very much.
Thank you.